All right, it's a beautiful beach day. I'm Dan in the sand, and today we're gonna teach you how to carve this into a sandcastle. Can you believe this is gonna turn into a sandcastle? All right, so the first thing we need to do, pop off the forms. Now I'm gonna take off this bottom form. First thing I'm gonna do, clear off all this sand around the bottom, get my fingers underneath there and just pop. Sandcastles, you always start at the top and you work your way down. You never start at the bottom and then build up here, because all of this sand is gonna fall down and cover up whatever you make down here. You can see I have a whole assortment of tools. So I'm gonna kind of introduce these as I go. So the first tool I like to start with, this is my pastry spatula. As you can see, I've cut off the end of mine to make it nice and square. That's how they typically come. So there's no wrong way to have your tool. So I'm gonna start with my pastry spatula right at the top. I'm gonna make a roof on this. So I'm gonna make a 4-sided roof to start with. So if I'm gonna go 4 sides, well, watch this actually, we're gonna go 2 sides. I'm gonna cut 1 side. So we got 1 side part of the way carved. We're gonna carve the other side a little bit at a time. You always have to remember, a sandcastle is like a haircut. Once you take it off, you can't really put it back on. The only way to put it back on as strong as it was is to unfortunately start over. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more off of this side, try to get these to look about even. There we go. Okay, so you can leave it 2-sided if you wanted to, or you could come here and you could cut. There's a 3-sided roof. Come over to the other side, make a cut. 4-sided roof. So that's the best way to make a 4-sided symmetrical roof. Now I'm gonna cut off these corners. Ta-da, I had to get finicky with it. So we went from flat to a round top. So as long as you follow the proper steps, you can come to this result. Now, I'm not a fan of roofs on my castle, so I'm actually gonna knock this entire top portion off and I'm gonna show you how to make something really cool, my favorite type of sandcastle. I just wanted to show you how I would make a roof out of a flat top bucket. So now we're gonna continue on. Let me go ahead and knock this off of here. Oh, I know, so scary. It's crazy, it's just sand. Look at this, it's just sand. All right, so it's kind of rough. If I wanted to smooth it off, just a big spatula. Now you can see, back down to our nice flat top bucket. So what I'm gonna do here is essentially cut it like a pizza or like a pie. I know everybody loves pizzas and pies. My favorite's an ice cream cake, but hey, that's just me, you know, I'm a big ice cream guy. Thanks, Kevin. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna follow these little lines I made with the handle of my brush. And you have all different types of bristle brushes. So each brush gives you a different thing that it does. And look at the handle of this brush. Not very pointy, is it? It's not gonna work like that one is. Instead of a brush, you could also use something like a pencil. And you're gonna see what I mean. Take the brush. That's all you're gonna do. That's it. How many times did it take me to do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like a haircut. You don't want to take it all at once, right? Now that we've gotten this done, we're gonna switch tools. I've got a big area here. I want to take all this sand out. So I'm gonna use a shovel. And you can see I'm just cutting away from the outside of my castle, right? I don't want to put any pressure this way because it'll blow off that chunk. We don't want that. I don't know if you can tell what I'm making here. It's gonna be a sweet looking sandcastle. There we go. So I got that done. I'm gonna come back to my brush and I'm gonna use it to open up these blocks a little more. And you can see it's starting to come to life, right? That's the thing about sandcastles. They require a little patience, but they're so much fun. I love building sandcastles. Now, if you notice, there's a whole bunch of sand up here. You can use your brush to remove the sand like that, You can see it works really well for brushing it away. Kind of leaves it rounded and softened. Or you can use this. First, you make sure you get all the sand out of it, right? There's still a bunch of sand. Clean off with my hand. Now, what is this? It's exactly what you think it is. It's a straw, but we're not sucking up sand. No, no, no. I do not want a mouthful of sand. So I use it in another way. You can see just a little gentle breeze gets all that sand out of there. And if you really great at removing sand, so I call it the Sand Blaster 3000, right? Or you can call it the particle accelerator because it accelerates the sand particles right on out of there, right? It's a fun little tool and every sand sculptor uses it. I am ready to come down underneath my blocks. I'm gonna use my spatula, and if you notice, you see how it's angled? I'm not going straight in, I'm lifting it up so it's a downward angle. I'm gonna saw in at a downward angle, and I'm gonna push down. Now, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Indeed. Gives you separation between the top of your castle and the bottom of your castle, right? It's just kind of like a definitive line. Now, something else I like to do really cool here is I have this little voided space. You can actually add details by using something like this. I know you probably have no idea what that is. That's a melon baller. Maybe this is a little easier for you to recognize, right? Measuring spoons. The reason why I like these is because they have that nice, perfect round curve. And I'm just gonna come right underneath here, push in, and pull down. Ta-da! And then when you continue that over and over, gives you kind of a cool castle detail, right? I mean, look how amazing that looks. So you'll actually notice on a lot of old medieval castles, they have that style to them. Now I'm gonna show you something else really cool. So instead of using my measuring spoons, I'm gonna switch back to my melon baller. It's a little bit easier for me to operate. So I'm gonna spin it in a circle. That's a round window or a port window. So now I'm gonna show you another style window using that same melon baller. You can lay your spatula up here nice and flat and then cut down to it. And you get a longer cathedral style window. Now we're gonna switch gears and I'm gonna show you some clay sculpting tools. So these are actual clay sculpting tools. And the way we're gonna use these is to add other details. Now I'm gonna continue to add windows. I don't know if you know this, but that's how medieval windows used to look. They're very skinny and super long. So lights would come in, but birds wouldn't, right? So I got one window, or you could use this clay sculpting tool. And you can see how each tool gives you a different texture. Now I'm going to use the same tool. Horizontal lines. Now I'm going to come back with vertical lines. And you can see just by adding some horizontal and vertical lines, take your sand blaster, bricks. That's simple, bricks, right? Now you can come over to this tool. Yeah, mechanical pencil. This is my version of the mechanical pencil. It's a metal scribe. It's kind of dangerous, so I don't recommend bringing this down to the beach unless you're keeping track of your tools. That's why I recommended a mechanical pencil right off the bat, because it's not nearly as dangerous, right? I'm gonna use this sharp metal point, and I'm gonna come right above my bricks, and I'm just gonna start drawing random patterns. And I'll bring these patterns all around my bricks. Because what's cool is a sandcastle doesn't have to make any sense. right? So you can design this however you want. I've seen people make SpongeBob's house. I've seen people make the Eiffel Tower. I've seen the ukulele. I've seen tons of things. There's no wrong way to sandcastle. So once I get these big weird things drawn out, I'm gonna switch back to my sandblaster. Ta-da! You kind of got stones, right? You can also come back to your stones and you can lightly brush them off to give them kind of a weathered look, so they're not so crisp. There's no wrong way to sandcastle. Now I'm going to come down to the bottom. You can use a melon baller, you can use your measuring spoons, it don't matter. All you're going to do is make a big hole. The deeper you go, the more realistic it's going to look. Ta-da! A door. That's simple. You got a door. Now, there's no wrong way to make doors or windows. You don't have to carve them in like I was doing. You can use the pencil or your scribe or any tool and actually draw them on. I've seen people do like drawn on square door or windows, drawn on doors with like wood grain and a little doorknob. So there's really no wrong way to do it. Cool thing about a sandcastle is it's all up to your imagination. You can turn this into whatever you want, like I was saying. I mean, how cool would this be if you got a miniature Eiffel Tower here on the beach? Now I got my door done. I want to show you something else that's really cool. I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna pack this sand down right here, because this sand actually works really good for a cool little detail at the bottom of your castle. And that's why I've been saving this guy. Straight up and down like that. You see how he's straight up and down? And then you got to give him a good little flick, because if you just push him, you're going to build up sand like that. You want to get that sand out of there, so when you go down, just flick it out. What's that look like? One of the coolest things in sandcastles is little steps, right? Ta-da! You make little steps and then you can cut away the edge to make them look like they're on a cliff, because there's no wrong way to sandcastle. That's a pretty dramatic statement right there, right? Now another cool thing that everybody loves, little trees. Happy little trees. Here's another one, right? So these take some practice. So I'm gonna make a whole nother video on how to do trees. Happy little trees. All right, as a bonus at the end of this video, I'm gonna throw in some boulders, because you can see our castle's pretty much done and I really like the way it looks. So our castle's done and I'm loving the way it looks, but we're at the end of the video and I wanna give you guys a little bonus treat. So you've seen how I do the trees. Now I'm gonna show you how I do boulders, realistic looking stones, okay? You see these all the time on the bottom of my sandcastle. It's all about a flat surface. The bigger the flat surface you have, the easier it is to do. Sometimes I use a shovel. What I'm gonna do is start on top. This is gonna be the top of my rock. Nice and flat, right? Flat areas are the key to rocks. So nice and flat. Now I'm gonna take my spatula and I'm gonna cut at a 45-degree angle away from that. A 45-degree angle. And what do I mean? I'm not cutting at an angle like this. I'm cutting at a mellow angle, right? So I'm not coming straight up and down, because if I did that, it would look like a box, right? We don't want a box. So I'm gonna fill this sand back in, pack it back down, tap it with my spatula, and cut at a slight angle away from the top. Slight angle away from the top. Same there. Now, this angle's coming down. I'm gonna drop in right here and almost go straight up and down. Round off that corner. Straight up and down. Slice through. So you can see I got all these flat angles here. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna come down in front of this rock, make another flat spot, cut down at an angle, down at an angle, down at an angle, cut off these corners. Rocks over here, nice and flat, straight into there. Cut here, and you can see I'm just doing mellow angles. It's all about nice mellow angles. You don't want any flat angles. You don't want it to be like a box. And once you kind of stack all these flat angles against each other, you can see how it comes out like rocks. These take some practice. I've done thousands of rocks. I lost count at probably 100,000 on these guys. So everything takes practice. I've been making sandcastles for 7 years, and I promise you, the more you play in the sand, the easier it'll become. I'm Dan in the Sand, and thank you so much for learning how to build a sandcastle with me today. I hope you tune in for more. See you guys next time.